Perfect. Okay, so I am Amanda Perez. I am the school counselor for last names P through Z. So once again, thank you for joining. The presentation is going to be with our class of 2026, so our juniors. So for the agenda for today, we're going to be discussing about Del Mar's College and Career Center, our junior calendar, the college systems and entrance requirements, college pathways, and then also just like tips and supports for your student. So next, meet the counselors. So each counselor, we do have, we all have our alpha. So we have Christy Geist, which is last names A through GI. We have Evelyn Baez, last names GO through O. We have myself, Amanda Perez, last names P through Z. And then we also have Miss Jennifer Martinez, which is our AM students. Our each counselor, we all have our office hours, which is going to be before school from 8 to 8:30. And then if your student does ever need to make an appointment with us, please send us an email or drop by during those times. Next, we have our college and career specialist. Right here we have Miss Cajero. She does a lot of amazing things. So as you can see in the pictures, it is located in the library. And that's also where we're doing our homework center. And so she's working with students with the community college and university applications. She's the one that's bringing representatives visits to our school. So for example, today we had the University of Irvine representative coming out during lunch near the student store, and just there, to answer any students' questions, give information about the school. So I definitely think that's a great way for students to kind of start exploring now and asking those questions, or walk by that table, grab that information, all for you. Next, she also helps out with the career pathway information, internships, volunteer opportunities, summer enrichment programs, job search assistance, resumes, work permits, financial aid applications, and scholarship search. So as you can see, she does have a weekly newsletter that comes out, and when you do, click on the weekly newsletter, she has a bunch of different things that are posted. So she'll put like the announcements. So like your senior year, you're definitely going to want to listen to this, because she has college application workshops. She'll have financial aid information and also workshops. She has job opening postings on there. If your student is interested in doing volunteer work, she has a bunch of list of different areas that are hiring for volunteer. I definitely encourage your students to, start volunteering or joining any internships, because when it comes to your senior year, they're definitely, you want to have that down on that application, to make you stand out to the colleges. And then just also like a bunch of different resources. So if your student's wanting to do like maybe PSAT or SAT practices, she has those resources on, where you can get that. Next is our juniors month-to-month calendar. And so as you can see right now, we have, we're in October, and October 13th, they're going to be having the NAC virtual college fair. And so that's a great way for you to, you can click on there, join it. You'll have a bunch of different colleges that are going to be talking about, maybe their admissions rate, what's the GPA, about the school, different extracurricular activities that they have. So we definitely want to start exploring that right there. So you definitely take a look at the calendar, and it has all the important dates that are on there, especially for February and in April, when we're going to be having our online credit recovery dates. So that is super important. So we can, if your student is not maybe A through G eligible, or for graduation purposes, we want to add that on there and attend our online recovery. Sorry guys, my cat is attacking my computer by the way. Okay, next up is graduation requirements. So We must be receiving a C or higher to be A through G eligible. If you've received, a D or an F, your student can always take credit recovery, summer school, or to be A through G eligible. Or if not, we also have CASE, which is our adult school next door, to make up to be for graduation purposes. Junior year is the final year to improve your GPA before you apply to the four-year colleges in the spring of your senior year. For UCs and CSUs, they do use the academic GPA from your 10th through 12th grade weighted for admissions. As well as, for our credit recovery options, like I've kind of briefly talked about, we're going to be having it online through President's Week break and spring break. We'll also be having it in person through summer school, and then we do in person and online at night school through CASE. So just kind of talking about the different college degrees, we have our associate's degree, which is going to be our community colleges, like San Jose City College. It might be through like West Valley. Next, we have the next degree, which would be like our bachelor's, which is that four-year university, such as San Jose State. And then after that, we always encourage our students, if they want to keep pursuing it, for your master's degree or your doctoral degree as well, and professional degrees. So college pathways. So we have for UCs, it is a 4-year. The GPA requirement is a minimum of a 3.0. There are 9 different campuses throughout California. They're mostly located in the larger cities. And then they offer, bachelor's, master's, doctoral, and professional degrees. Next is our CSU, 4 years. So the minimum GPA requirement is the 2.5. There are 23 campuses in diverse locations. Same thing, bachelor's, master's, doctoral degrees, and as well as credentials. And when we are applying to these schools, the ACTs and SATs are not required. It is highly recommended for placements. And so if we're wanting to do, take that SAT or ACT, we still definitely encourage that to help place them there. Next, we have our private school. So they'll be using like the Common App, which is also still a 4-year college. The GPA requirement, it kind of varies between the schools. There is 119 campuses in California, as well as, more than 2,000 that are across the country. They still offer the same thing: bachelor's, master's, doctoral, and professional degrees. We have our community colleges, which is the 2 years. You would be receiving your 2-year associate's degree. There are over 100 campuses in California to choose from. You could be earning your associate's degree, technical, or vocational certificate. The great thing about it is affordable with low, as well as maybe sometimes like free tuition. So through the California Promise, students will be receiving their first 2 years at the community college for free, which is great because it will be saving you time, money. They also still offer, let's say if you're wanting to go into like a different trade, HVAC, construction, automotive, they offer those as well, instead of, if you don't want to go to like a trade school. Next, we have our vocational trade schools. You will be needing still like a high school diploma. And so with these trade schools, it offers specialized trainings in particular industries or careers, possible programs of study, including maybe culinary arts, firefighting, dental hygiene, medical record, technology. These colleges usually offer like certificates. It is like a shorter time commitment. The thing is, the cost might vary depending on the program and on tuition. So that would be something that we would want to definitely explore if we're thinking about going to a trade school, looking at the pros and cons between maybe like the community college as well as a vocational with that. Next, we also have military. So you'd be needing your high school diploma. You'd be taking the ASVAB and passing a physical examination. We definitely have military that does come onto campus. So I would highly recommend your student to be, doing their research on the different branches of the military, as we have, like the Marine, the Army, the Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coastal. So really meet with that recruiter, go over there, talk to them, see what you want to do, and what other requirements that they're having. So what are colleges looking for? Colleges are really looking, the strength of your transcript. The student's transcript is really telling a story about them. And so they're wanting to know, have you done the best you can in the most challenging classes you are capable of? Are you taking those challenging classes? How many challenging classes do we have here at Del Mar? We offer IB and AP. Are you taking majority of them, or have you taken one or two, just saying, hey, I want to take those challenging classes? So they're seeing that part right there. Maybe they're looking at are there any trends on your transcripts? Maybe we had one bad semester or one bad year, but are we seeing, us saying, okay, we're going to make an improvement? Are we, retaking any classes to recover from that? As well as meaningful classes during your senior year. A lot of students, we might want to be taking like the easy way out. I always encourage our students, such as maybe I've already done my 3 years of math. I still highly encourage our students to take that 4th year of math, or maybe it might be take that 3rd year of Spanish or that 4th year of Spanish. They're really wanting to see, are you still pushing yourself? Are we just taking the 5 classes and then that's it? And as well as is there anything that's sticking out? Like maybe did we have that one really rough semester? When we apply to the UCs, that is something that you can explain in your PIQs. This can be explained in an essay. And so right there, talk about how did you overcome this? If we did have that one really rough semester, what were you going through? And then how did you overcome this as well? Picking the right colleges. So we really want to make sure that we are doing our research, looking at what are the admissions requirements, average admissions GPA. Consider, the major, the curriculum, the location. A lot of students, can you see yourself leaving out of San Jose? I know for myself, I went to school in Utah. And, it definitely it was difficult, but I was I'll be okay. But there's some students that they want to be a lot closer to home. And so maybe it might be, let's go to, UC Merced or UC Davis, because we're only 2 hours away. Or I want to stay in San Jose, so we can apply to, San Jose State. So thinking about that right there too. Different costs and financial aid, can we afford it? The student life. We are going to be there for 4 years, so it is going to be a huge commitment right there. So we do want to make the most of it and have fun. Programs of study, do they have what you're offering? Do they have your major? The size, public versus private, housing, extracurricular activity or extracurriculars, studying abroad programs. Maybe we might want to study abroad in Spain or Europe. Do they offer that at that school? What is also the campus life? So those are all different questions that we really want to consider on attending. And then really becoming familiar with the college websites. And so that's why we highly recommend going on different college visits, checking out the colleges. We also have on CCGI, you can go and explore different colleges. What are your must-haves? Do they have your major? This is the location I want. And you can all do that on CCGI. As well as, so next up we have career exploration. We want to make sure that we are setting goals with it. When we're looking at our career, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10, maybe even 20 years? I ask students. Because really it's all about, when we are doing this, it's, okay, I think I want to do this. Maybe it's construction. Okay, do you see yourself doing this in 10 or 15 years? Maybe we might want to continue with construction, but maybe we might want to get that business degree with it as well, so then we can be, in charge of the whole entire program right there. Maybe it's I want to become a teacher, but then maybe my end goal is I want to be like the principal. Really setting those goals for ourselves. Consider different pathways and which one is the best fit for you. Taking advantage of career and personality assessments, as well as applying for work-based learning opportunities to explore your own interests. So this is where I'm telling students, apply for a job. When you're getting a job, that's teaching you something. That's teaching you customer service. That's teaching you people skills, as well as like different internships, to see, do I want to go into this field? Do that internship and see, what, maybe this isn't what I want, or maybe I like this about the internship, but now I want to explore something else. We also offer SVCTE. So for your senior year, maybe we're going to apply to SVCTE and see if they offer like the career of interest. I think that's a great way to explore. And then next up is Christy Geist.
Hi, everybody. One note, Ms. Perez, are you able to, there's a toolbar on the bottom left-hand side. If you can see it, hit that little arrow button I think it'll close it out, that one. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Christy Geist. I'm one of the counselors here at Del Mar. Thank you for joining us tonight. You've heard Ms. Perez mention CCGI a couple of times, and you might be thinking, what is that? We're very lucky. This is our first year using it district-wide. CCGI stands for California College Guidance Initiative. It is a statewide program that students have access to help them with planning their future after high school, their college and career pathway. So we're implementing it this year at all grade levels. Junior year is a great time to start with this platform. There are a ton of research features that we will go over to show you. It is another portal to log into, yes, but it is also another portal that you can log into, or your students can log into, using their CUHSD Google account. The single sign-on is one of the greatest features to ever be developed. So your students don't have to remember their passwords. It will automatically log them in with their school account. We have used Naviance in years past, so if you're wondering kind of what happened to that platform, we have used Naviance for the majority of our college and career planning material. We also use it for college applications, so seniors are using that right now. CCGI is part of an initiative that is within the entire state of California. It is a free platform for students to use. It specifically focuses on the college systems in California, community colleges, the Cal State University system, and the University of California. But it also has information, which you'll see in a moment, about schools on the Common App, so private and out-of-state schools, historically Black colleges and universities. There are a ton of resources for students to use that we are kind of phasing in by grade level. So we'll go over kind of what those features are so that students can get logged on. But this year is a great year to start working on that. As we kind of learn it together, I've seen a lot of different tutorials, a lot of kind of help features. CCGI has some of the best. So they have they have presentations that walk students through different features of the portal, how to log into certain areas. Click by click, it shows them how to do it. So to help them get started and for us to follow along with students as they're doing it. So once your student logs onto their portal, they will see their kind of menu bar up at the top. They've got their plan, college and career, as well as financial aid. So we live in a high cost of living area. We live in a world where college tuition is getting more and more expensive each year. So it's never too early to start planning for the financial aspect of it. We've got seniors right now that are getting ready to submit their FAFSA or their California DREAM Act application. We want your juniors to be ready for that process as well. Senior year can be very action-packed, so this is a great time to be able to plan for it. Parents, you also get something to log into, which is great. So you can follow along with your students. One thing to note is that parents do not have editing access to their student's account. You can see everything that your student does. You'll be able to see what progress they've made towards any lessons that they might be working through. You'll be able to see their assessments, their careers that they may have pinned or planned, any research that they're doing. We really encourage parents and students to have these conversations together. We know that what do you want to do with your life question, it can be very overwhelming for students. We ask it a lot, counselors do too, but we ask so that we can help. For most students, the answer is, I have no idea. It overwhelms me and scares me to think about it. The most popular major for incoming freshmen is undeclared. That is not a coincidence. There are so many things to choose from that we want students to take as much opportunity as possible in high school to explore without paying any tuition, without committing to a major or a program or even a career field, so they can get that experience before they join college. So parents, you can have your account as well, so you can follow along with your student. Once students log in, you'll notice those headers at the top. Starting from the left-hand side on the My Plan area, you'll see their academic planner. So one feature that is incredible about the California College Guidance Initiative is that students will be able to see their progress towards meeting A through G requirements. You likely have heard about those before. A through G requirements are a set of subject areas that students must complete with grades of C or better in order to be eligible to apply for the University of California and California State University system. Our district in the last several years changed their graduation requirements to more closely align with the A through G requirements, which has been very beneficial for students, meaning that if they are taking their graduation requirements at Del Mar and passing them with the C or better, they will be A through G eligible. It's very easy for us to track on the transcript. We meet with students every year to go over it, but now your students will be able to see it in real time using the information from their transcript. So on the bottom side, you'll see here their GPA will be listed, as well as their CSU eligibility and UC eligibility report. So when students click on that link, they will be able to see all of their coursework that meets those A through G requirements. They'll see what they already have done. They'll see what they still have left to do, which includes their senior year courses. And then they also will have information on the applications for the CSU and UC. When your students are seniors, they will actually be able to launch their UC, CSU, and community college applications directly through the CCGI website, which means that all of their coursework for the UCs and CSUs will automatically be added to the application for them. In years past, if you've had older students that came through Del Mar and did their college applications, students had to hand enter each course, each grade, each semester for the entire application. Painstaking process that now is going to be a lot simpler. Students will still need to double check. We'll want to make sure that they go through all their coursework, make sure that everything lines up, but this will make the process a lot easier for them, hopefully less stressful, fewer things to worry about in the process, but a lot easier for them to see where they are in terms of making progress. We talked about SVCTE and different courses that we offer through the IB program. When we meet with juniors in January to talk about their class schedule for their final year at Del Mar, we will be looking at this information. We'll double check their eligibility to meeting those A through G requirements, any other graduation requirements that they need to meet. But using this information that they will be going through this year, we also want to try to pair them up with courses or programs that match their interests. We want to give them as much exposure to different fields as we can in order to help students start making some of those decisions. I had a student a couple years ago who did the veterinary science course through SVCTE, our career technical education program. At the beginning of the year, she was 100% sure that she wanted to be a veterinarian. At the end of the year, she no longer wanted to be a veterinarian, but now she knew before going to vet school, before making that huge commitment. She had a fantastic experience. She learned a lot, but she said, you know what? This isn't for me. It's helped me to focus and narrow down what I do want to do. So we want to see students taking advantage of everything that's offered to them within reason so that they still have time to do everything they need to do, including sleep. But these are some of the ways that students can start to figure out what they might want to do. On the career tab, you'll see a couple of profilers or assessments that students can take. The CCGI platform will save the results so they can come back to them later. And you'll see in a moment that it actually helps them to start to filter some of their career fields or majors or colleges that they might want to consider based on the results that they enter into these assessments. So it'll ask students about things that they are interested in, what they do and don't like to do. It's helpful to weed those things out. It'll ask students about what is important to them in work that they do, what kind of values they want, or what kind of an environment they want to be in. And then it will give them, you'll see here, a list of careers that match those interests. It also gives them a lot more information about those careers. So you'll see that on the left-hand side, all those careers are hyperlinked. So students can click on those to find out more information, but you'll also see what type of education is required, what degree they might need, average salaries, what the career prospects look like. So it can be super helpful for students to say, I think I'm interested in this field, but what will it be like by the time I get to it years from now after I've done all my education? Sometimes I have students that will do, an interest profile or a career assessment, and they'll say, Ms. Geist, they told me to be a park ranger. I don't want to be a park ranger. And I say, okay, great. We know you don't want to be a park ranger. Well, why do you think that came up in your results? What are some of the things that you answered? What are some of the characteristics that you put in that assessment that maybe came up that way? Maybe you like to teach other people. Maybe you're interested in conservation or the environment. Maybe you don't want to sit in an office. You want to have a more active career. So all this information, even if at first glance it's like, nope, this is not helpful for me, the more students have time to think about it and talk about it at home, it can really help them to kind of open up options that they see. Talking with other adults in their lives and seeing what kind of pathways they took or what fields they got into is super helpful. Then there's so much more out there that they don't even know anybody in their life maybe who are in those career fields yet. This will help give them a little bit more information before they make that jump. So as students move through the assessments, they will be able to save all of their results here. You can see the dates when they completed those, so parents will be able to see those too, check those out with their students. And then on the far right-hand side where it says top careers, this is based on all of the information that students have entered from the different types of assessments. So the personality profile, their skills, their work values, and then this will show them career fields that really match all of those features and all those things that they put in there. So it should be highly tailored to your student based on what their interests are. We know that students' interests change frequently, or there's multiple things that they want to do. I talked to a senior today who listed 3 or 4 different possible majors, and we're like, I have no idea how I'm going to narrow it down. We don't expect them to have it 100% by the time that they graduate, but we want to see that they have their at least next steps to get there. There is still time in college to do some exploration, especially those first 2 years when they're taking care of general education requirements. We'd love to see students get as close as possible. And part of that is looking at what their potential career or major might be, but also looking at what schools have those careers or majors and programs that students want. So we talk a lot about best fit, which sometimes feels very different from who is going to accept me, who is going to give me admission to their university, and it feels very much like the students are at the disadvantage. We want to see students that when they build their college application list, every single school on that list has what your student is looking for. They have the major that they want. They have the size, the location that they want. Ms. Prez mentioned whether students are willing or ready to leave San Jose or not. That's a big part of it. I had a student that moved to New York to attend NYU, and he was back at the semester. He did not like to be cold and did not like the snow. So it's super helpful for students to do this work up front, especially as they start looking at financial aid, possible loans, and making these major commitments. Taking these smaller steps can make it feel like less of a huge leap and jump, and hopefully make it more fun and exciting for students to be able to have more choice in what they do when they get to college. To help them with the classes that we have been talking about, whether they're taking them now or they're planning for them next year, our after-school tutoring program has really blossomed. It is packed in there every day. So we've got 4 days a week. You'll see the times listed here. In our College and Career Center in the back of the library, we have a separate space that's nice and quiet. We have tutors in there all 4 days of the week, and they are working in all subjects. So I had a student for Integrated Math 4 who's going in there today. I had another student for World History who's going in there. So we have teachers that are in there. We have our bilingual aides. We also have partnered with the Smart Tutors program. They used to just specialize in math and science primarily, but we have expanded it to all subject areas. So we want to see students getting that help for any classes that they might need. We know that junior year arguably is the most challenging of high school for lots of reasons. We start to have these kind of big talks about next steps, and students start to feel that pressure. They're in some of the highest level courses that they've taken to date. A lot of students are starting to take maybe IB courses, or they're really getting into the more advanced coursework. It is very challenging, and it can start to sometimes feel like their confidence is taking a hit, or they feel like, I'm not the student I thought I was. This is so much more challenging than I thought it was going to be. Your student is not alone if they are feeling that way. Every student on campus needs help at some point with something. And so we want to see students taking advantage of it. Sometimes students will tell me, I feel like I'm not doing things right if I have to go to tutoring. I should be able to figure it out on my own. And I tell them, this is one of the biggest skills that you can have going into college. When your students attend college, whether that's community college, four-year universities, if they go into an apprenticeship program, if they go into the workforce, they're going to need help. And having those skills to ask for it now, although it can be intimidating, it can be very challenging, practicing that now is really going to help them once they leave high school. In the college environment, all professors will have hours, which are set times that they have blocked off to meet with students every week. They want to see students at the college level coming to see them. We want to see students doing the same thing when they are in high school. So if your student hasn't gone there yet, kind of a shorthand version of this is Monday through Thursday after school, head to the library. If you have a student athlete who has some downtime, maybe before practice or their games, they can go in there. They're offering this during the 7th period. So students can get in there, hopefully get some homework out of the way or some studying, go off to practice, and then their day's a little bit less impacted. To help answer the question of what do you want to do with your life, or what are you thinking about doing? We're really excited to be hosting the district-wide Career Expo at Del Mar this year. It rotates locations every year. We are pumped to be having it at our site. This will be happening in the spring on Wednesday, March 19th. We have seen at least 100 representatives come to these career expos in the past. These are adults who have been in their field for years. They are either recruiting students, talking about them joining their programs after high school, or talking about the pathway to get where they are now. So we've had a great turnout in years past. Since it is at Del Mar, we want to see all of our students there because it's just like coming to school, but a little bit later. So you can plan for that event now. Parents are welcome as well, so you can come with your student. These representatives are volunteers, so they are just kind of donating their time. They love to talk to young people and students. A lot of them will have outreach teams that they have from their company or from their business, and they send them to events like this specifically to talk to young people. We know, Silicon Valley has a great reputation for all kinds of fields, and sometimes students feel like, how am I going to break into that? I don't know anybody there yet. How do I figure out how to get where I want to be? All of the people at this event are there to help students find that pathway. So we encourage you and your students to attend, kind of book that date, mark it on your calendar, and we will see you in the spring. Ms. Prez mentioned the PSAT earlier and the SAT and ACT requirements. So before COVID, the SAT and ACT were required across the board for four-year colleges and institutions. Community colleges do not require the ACT or SAT. That is still the case. The UC and CSU system are still not requiring the SAT or the ACT. Some private and out-of-state colleges have started to bring back these requirements. It depends on the school, which is another part of the research process that can be challenging. But as Ms. Prez mentioned, for the UC and CSU system, if students take the SAT or ACT, those scores are not used in the admissions process. They're not even considered. So sometimes students say, I'm going to send them anyway. They won't look at them. But if the UC or CSU school offers your student admission, after that admissions process, they can look at SAT or ACT scores to help with placement into math and English courses in their freshman year of college. So it can be helpful for that, but it is not required or considered as part of the admissions process. When it comes to private and out-of-state schools, they're kind of a mixed bag. Some schools are test blind, which means that they will not look at test scores even if they're submitted. Some schools are test optional, which means that students can choose to take the SAT or ACT and submit scores. It will not hurt them if they don't submit. But if they choose to, it can only help their application. Another piece of information to look at. Some schools have talked about bringing back the requirement just flat out as part of their admissions process. So it does depend on the school in that sense. The PSAT is a practice SAT. So this exam has no impact on a student's admission. These scores are not sent to colleges and universities. It is just helpful for students if they are planning to take the SAT or the ACT. The PSAT can be a great way to get real test conditions to sit for the full length of time. It is several hours to take this exam. It's great practice for students to do so. For most students, kind of in the general college testing environment. Most students will take the SAT or ACT for the first time in the spring of junior year. Part of that is because they have that higher level coursework at that time. Their math and English coursework really prepares them for the SAT and ACT. If they take it in the spring of junior year, it gives them time to, once they get those score reports back, they can look at areas of strength where they did really well, areas of challenge where they might want to do some more prep work. They can take the summer to do that. There's a lot of free test prep that is out there, and then come back in the fall of senior year and take one or the other again to see if they can improve their score. For the practice SAT, this is offered in the fall of junior year. So it's kind of the first round where juniors can get in that testing environment, see the exam, get their score report that they all will receive. And that also has a report of how well they did. It goes question by question, question type. So it really gives helpful feedback for students if they are planning to take the SAT or ACT in the future. The ACT and SAT have gotten a lot more similar in recent years. They used to be very different formats, very different questions, different amounts of sections. It was kind of a mess. But the SAT has changed its format over the last several years to be more similar to the ACT. We found that a lot of students tend to do better on one or the other, but now that they're more similar in terms of how many sections, how many questions, what they're being asked to do, it's really helpful for students to not feel so much pressure to take both. The practice SAT will give great information for either exam, and you'll see at the bottom that this is the National Merit Qualifying Test in the junior year. So this means that if students take the PSAT as a junior, they can qualify for the National Merit Scholarship Program. So there are different levels of it. The scholarship is the most fun because that involves money, the scholarship money that students do not have to pay back. But there are also different levels of recognition. So I've had students in years past that don't get the scholarship, but they get recognition that we can then put on their college application. So you can kind of think of it as an academic award. A recognition that they can submit to colleges just for their information without having to send any scores. So that is a great opportunity for juniors to qualify for the National Merit the National Merit Scholarship, but it's also just great practice. So Ms. Cajedo has pushed out the link to sign up. So we've got a good number of students that are taking it right now. We have a couple of spots left. Not a lot, but this link where it says sign up here when we post this presentation on the website, that'll be a link directly for students to sign up. It looks like there's a question about other dates. So at Del Mar, we are only offering it on 10/26. So just that one date that we're able to host it. If that date doesn't work, or if you are looking for more test prep, if you go to the College Board website, which is the program that runs the SAT and PSAT, they have full-length practice exams that students can take. They have a ton of test prep. They actually partner with Khan Academy, which your students may have used before, especially in math classes. They do a lot of free review for students. College Board and Khan Academy have partnered to design SAT prep completely free, but that is also available on the College Board website. So I always tell students, take advantage of the free resources. They are built and designed to help you do well on the SAT. That is what they're there for. They're designed by the company that gives the test. There are test prep companies that are out there. They charge different amounts. Some may be feasible for your family, and that is great. One of the benefits to using those is that they do provide structure in terms of the calendar and what assignments or what practice and prep students are doing. They don't have to manage that schedule on their own. They can be cost prohibitive. They are expensive to varying degrees. So, if they're being honest, the test prep companies are probably giving about a 100-point bump in the score, which can be achieved through free prep on your own and also through working as hard as students are in their classes right now. So it's definitely your family's choice in terms of how you want to approach this. But as students start doing their college and career research, if they're looking at private or out-of-state schools that have different testing requirements, taking this can definitely be helpful to kind of launch them on that pathway if that's where they're choosing to apply. Oh my gosh, we did it. All right. That was a lot. It always is, but it's a lot of fun stuff, hopefully. So we will post this presentation as well as the video on our website. If you would like to either drop in the chat, if you want to unmute, ask any questions. Hopefully we answered a lot of them, but this is also not the last time that we'll all see each other, even if we're virtual. So if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or ask them now.
Let's see.